So for a while now, there's been many rumors that Hulk could appear in the Moon Knight show. Now I think these rumors have been obviously what's the word? Turned down and kind of made not to be true. But I think it would have made sense if he was to make a cameo appearance in show, because I believe and think that Hulk and Moon Knight, well, not the characters. I think uh, Bruce Banner and obviously Mark Spector or Stephen Grant. I think they're very similar characters. Obviously, the Hulk and Moon Knight are totally different characters, and like their skill and fighting base are totally different. But I think Bruce Banner is the same more to Stephen Grant than Mark Spector. I think Stephen Grant and the Hulk, I think they're very similar. Obviously, I think Bruce is a lot more, he knows what's going on. I think Bruce more than Stephen Grant does, but I think Stephen Grant will learn as the show goes on. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, I'm going to explain today why I think how Hulk and Moon Knight are very similar characters. And yeah, if you do enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, and let's just get into it. So, Hulk and Moon Knight, or Stephen Grant and Bruce Banner's personalities, they're very similar. They obviously, when Bruce turns into the Hulk and then he turns back into Bruce, he can't remember what he did as the Hulk. Obviously, this is explained in Age of Ultron and many other Marvel movies. But in Age of Ultron, when Scarlet Witch kind of mind controls Hulk to be angry and rageful and kind of just he basically just causes havoc and destruction. Um, he can't remember what happened, and he's upset after they tell him what he did, but he couldn't remember what he did as the Hulk. Obviously, as he has no memory of doing it as the Hulk because he doesn't control the Hulk. And Stephen Grant in episode 1, when we see him, black out, and then Mark Spector takes control, or Moon Knight takes control of his body, and then he starts doing the things that Stephen Grant can't remember. When Stephen Grant wakes up again, he looks around him and all those people are dead. Obviously, Mark Spector did that, but Stephen Grant doesn't remember Mark Spector doing it because he took control. So they're kind of like the same characters in that way, when the personalities and kind of not remembering what happened when they go into their more superhero self. They don't really remember what happened, which is why I feel like they are very similar, and their characteristics are very similar in this show. Well, as explained in the MCU as well, which is why I think a Hulk cameo in this show wouldn't have been the craziest thing, because I think it would have linked the two characters, showing that they are, well, Bruce Banner and obviously Mark Spector and or Stephen Grant are very similar in both ways. I kind of explained this just a minute ago, but Bruce kind of has two personalities. Obviously the Hulk, and obviously Bruce as himself. And then it's like Stephen and Mark Spector. Mark Spector is a totally different. He has totally different characteristics and mindset to Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant is more, he's English. Mark Spector's American. They're very different. They do different things. Obviously, Mark Spector's a mercenary, and Stephen Grant is he works at a toy shop or whatever, and Mark Spector is obviously, like I just said, a mercenary. So they're two very different. Obviously, the Hulk is a rageful giant, basically, and Bruce Banner is just a scientist, a very smart scientist. And yeah, I think they are very similar in those ways. They have two different personalities. One is the Hulk, and one is Bruce. Bruce merges the Hulk, as we see in Endgame, that he kind of merges them together and becomes one. And we're probably going to see that a bit more, but I think that's going to change, especially with the links and the rumors of a World War Hulk film coming. But I'll make a video on that in the future. And yeah, I think they both have two different personalities. Stephen Grant is very different to Mark Spector, as we're probably going to find out in the Moon Knight show a lot more. And Bruce is very different to Hulk. Obviously, I think that's pretty obvious that they are very different. He talks about his differences in Endgame, or no, Infinity War, when he kind of jokes about and say they have to talk about their differences and stuff like that. So I think they are very similar in that way as well, which is why, like I just said, the rumored cameo I think wouldn't be the craziest thing, but I don't think it will happen. I think they've kind of been shut down, and it probably won't happen. And the last thing I've got to link the two characters is that Bruce has learned over the years to try and deal with the Hulk, and it's like Mark Spector and Khonshu is with Steven. Mark Spector is kind of feeling sorry for Steven, his other personality, obviously, as he knows, but Steven doesn't know. And Khonshu is kind of, we see it throughout episode 1, where Khonshu is just calling him an idiot. He's calling Stephen Grant an idiot, and he's stupid, and he like, oh yeah, idiot is in control now. And yeah, Khonshu doesn't like the fact that Stephen Grant is another personality of Mark Spector that obviously happened from getting the power of Moon Knight. But yeah, I think it does show that Mark Khonshu will probably have to deal with that, and Stephen Grant will obviously learn what's going on, and obviously Mark Spector has learned to deal with Stephen Grant, and Khonshu will probably learn to as well, and maybe they'll even get rid of Stephen Grant, and maybe his mixed personalities will go with maybe the magic or something that we see in the trailer. But yeah, they are very similar when Bruce, he's learned to control the Hulk near the end, obviously with the lullabies in Age of Ultron, which kind of calmed him down, but Bruce has himself learned how to control the Hulk, and especially as we saw in Endgame when he literally merges together to become Smart Hulk. So yeah, I think they are very two similar characters, Bruce Banner and Mark Spector, or Stephen Grant. Sorry, I think they are very two similar characters with their backstories and characteristics. I do think they're very similar, but obviously the Hulk and Moon Knight are two completely different characters when it comes to fighting style and stuff like that. They are very different in where their powers come from. So if you agree with me, tell me down below. I do think that they do make sense. I think they are two very similar characters, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.